Assalamu alaikum. So welcome back after a long break, and just to update you that I have seen the feedback percentage on Blackboard. So you have crossed 80%. Well done, and now you should look to cross 90%. So you still need few responses to get to 90%, and then you can have one topic or one lecture off from the final exam. Okay, go ahead. Let's see what happens. Now, before the break, we were talking about traffic control devices. So we talked about types of traffic control devices. Then we moved on to signals. Within signals, we have talked about the calculation of cycle length and the effect of V by C ratio and number of lanes on the cycle. Now we are going to continue from the same aspect, that is the effect of number of lanes. So for example, in a particular for a particular phase of the signal, you have 2 or 3 lanes, okay, and each lane will have its own flow or have its own volume. For example, you have 1 and 2, and then you have the third lane as well, which is for left turn. Now obviously left turning flow will be different from straight. Now in the last example, the one which we did before the break, for the sake of simplicity, we assume that if we have 2 lanes in the same direction, then the flow will be equally divided, while it is not the case. Even if we have 2 lanes for the same movement, flow is not equally divided. It is based upon the preference of the driver. So in our case, as per my experience, I don't have data to follow that, but as per my experience, we like to prefer the left hand side lane as compared to the right hand side lane. Okay, this is our preference normally. So if you have 2 lanes which are for the same movement, then you will have more flow in the left hand side lane. In any case, the point here is you are designing a signal phase in which 3 lanes will move, 3 lanes will operate simultaneously, and the flow in these 3 lanes is different from each other. Then one of these lanes will be taken for the design of the phase. The flow for one of these lanes, so out of the 3 or 2 lanes, whatever number of lanes you have to select one, and you will design the signal timing according to the flow in that lane. That lane which you will select for the design is known as critical lane. Critical lane. Okay. So obviously the flow, the lane which has more flow, higher flow, 99% of the time that will be the critical lane. So if I have 3 lanes and let's say the one in the middle has a flow of 1000 and the other 2 lanes are less than that, then I should select this lane. This is the case 98 and 99% of the times. But when you are considering the turning movement, you have to consider another factor, which is the time taken for turning. So turning movements usually take longer time than the through or straight movement. So it may happen that although left turning or any turning movement has less flow than the through movement, but it is taking more time. So in that case, the turning lane may become your critical lane. Okay. So for example, you have 1000 vehicles going through from the critical lane or from the through lane, and you have, let's say, 970 vehicles turning left. So these 970 vehicles may be taking more time than the 1000 through vehicles. Okay. So the left turning will become the critical lane. But if the difference is too high, if the difference between the 2 lanes, the flow of the 2 lanes is large enough, then turning will not have so much effect, right? For example, you have 1000 and 400. So obviously 1000 will always take more time, right? In any case, the point here is for every signal phase, select a critical lane. Out of all the lanes which will go from that phase, you have to select a critical lane. Okay, and the flow for that critical lane will be taken for designing the timing of the signal. They call it budgeting or allocating the time. So when you are budgeting or allocating the time for the signal, you will budget it or allocate it as per the flow in the critical lane. Okay, and the point here is, say if the flow from the critical lane can go in that much time, then the flow from the other lanes which have less flow will also go in that much time. They are going simultaneously, right? So if you are giving enough time for the critical lane, other lanes already have enough time. Okay. And then the other thing is startup and clearance loss time. must be taken for the same critical lane. Again, just to refresh your mind, startup loss time is the extra headway caused by the first 3-4 beacons in the queue when the signal becomes green, and the clearance loss time is the extra time you give at the end of the phase for the vehicles to clear the intersection which have already moved, okay, which have already crossed the stop line. For every phase, there should be one critical lane. For every phase, there should be one critical lane, and the phase will be designed according to that lane. So you cannot have a phase in which you are saying, okay, both of them are my critical lanes. No, it is not possible. Okay, you have to select one. Except for the loss time. So loss time, as I said, especially the clearance loss time. So in clearance loss time, all signals are red. No vehicle is supposed to enter the intersection. Except for that time, one critical lane should always be open. So for example, you have 60 seconds of signal cycle length, and out of 60 seconds, 5 seconds is the clearance loss time. So that in the remaining 55 seconds, one critical lane from any direction should be open. Okay. And the third point is, if you are overlapping the phases, what do we mean by, first of all, overlapping the phases? Overlapping the phases means you have movements, different movements or different phases which are happening at the same time. Different phases which are happening at the same time. So you have one phase open, and after some time the other phase also opens while the first one is still ongoing. Okay, so for example, the phase for this movement is open, and after a few seconds the phase for this movement also opens. Okay, now keep in mind, overlapping cannot be done for conflicting movements, right? So these two movements both are straight, they are not conflicting. Okay, so you can do overlapping between them. Okay. One more thing, keep in mind that overlapping and having different movements in the same phase is different. There's a difference between having overlapping phases and having multiple movements in the same phase. Okay. Overlapping means the start or the end time of the phases is different. So like I said, this one was already started, and then after some time this is started. So their opening time was different. So they are not the same phase. But if you open both the greens at the same time and they also close at the same time, that means it is the same phase. We are assigning, or we are allowing two movements in the same phase. Okay, so this is not overlapping, this is same phase. Okay, for overlapping phases, we mean that one phase started, the other one will start after that, or one phase has ended and the other one will end after that. Okay, so there is some difference in the start and the end time. Start and end time both are same, that is the same phase. Okay, then the movements are just happening in the same phase. Okay, now for overlapping you have multiple options, like I have just mentioned one option. Another option can be, don't open this one, but open this left turn. Again, they are not conflicting, they can open together. Okay, so you can have overlapping like this as well. So which overlapping option you should go for? We have so many options available. I've just shown you two options. You will go for the overlapping that gives you the maximum summation of overlapping flow in the critical lanes. You will go for the overlapping which gives you the maximum summation of overlapping volumes from the critical lane. So for example, the critical lane for this through has a volume of 700. And for this one, it has 550. And for this one, it is 800. Okay, so if I go for this and this overlapping, two straight movements, then I will have total of 7 plus 8, 1500. Okay, and if I go for this overlapping, straight and left, then I will have 7 plus 550, meaning 1250. Okay, so overlapping two straight movements is more beneficial in this case than the straight and left. Okay, and again I'm talking about the flow in the critical lane. So for example, in this direction you may have 2 or 3 lanes, but I'm talking about the critical lane. Out of those 2 and 3 has a flow of 700. Similarly, this one is also in the critical lane. This one is also in the critical lane. So for each movement, I'm just comparing the flow of the critical lanes. So deciding about the overlapping, go for the overlapping which gives you the highest summation of volumes for the critical lanes. Give me a second. Okay, then about the measures of effectiveness on an intersection. How do you measure the effectiveness of an intersection? Now we can use for segments, we have used speed and density and other things. We cannot use the same things for intersection. Why? Because intersections are considered as points, not segments. So point means it does not have a length. Doesn't have a length. Okay. So it doesn't have a length means density cannot be used. Density needs length. Okay. Then you can say, why don't we use speed? Now at intersection, speed cannot be used because you are supposed to stop, right? So if you use speed as a measure, then all vehicles will be going at a very low speed. So speed cannot be used as an effectiveness measure. So the most commonly applied effectiveness measures for intersection are delay, queue, and stop. So delay is the time difference between the arrival time of the vehicle and the departure time of the vehicle. When you arrive at the intersection, so if you have a queue or you have a red signal, you have to stop, right? Or you will join the queue. And departure time is when you leave the stop line, when you cross the stop line. So how much was the time difference when you join the queue and when you left the stop line? That is a delay. Queue means the number of vehicles in the queue, and obviously the queue is because of the red signal, right? Because of the red phase. Then we have stop time. Oh, sorry, stop. Stop means number or proportion of vehicles stopping at the intersection. So you have 100 vehicles arriving at the intersection. Out of them, how many had to stop? Okay, or what is the percentage of vehicles had to stop? So if 95 of them stop, that means 95% of the vehicles had to stop at the signal. Okay. Delay is the most commonly used parameter for signal for intersection effectiveness, and it is also linked with the level of service as well. So delay can be of 4 types: stop delay, approach delay, time in queue delay, and travel time delay. Stop delay means obviously the time when the vehicle is stopped, right? Stop delay is when the vehicle is stopped. So you have to stop because there's a vehicle in front of you, the signal is red. That is a stop delay, the time which you are consuming while you're stopped. Then we have approach delay. Approach delay has 3 parts. It has stop delay or the stop time. Then before the stopping, you must have decelerated. So deceleration is also part of approach delay. And after you start moving, you will accelerate back to your desired speed. So that is also part of approach delay. So approach delay has deceleration, stopping, and then acceleration back to the desired speed. If you remember, when we were talking about delay earlier, we called it the control delay. So control delay, approach delay means the same thing. Okay. Then we have time in queue delay. Time in queue delay means the time when the vehicle is consuming in the queue, when the vehicle is in the queue. Now, how it is different from stop delay? Because the queue can be moving as well. The signal has just become green, and you are the 5th person in the queue. So until you pass the stop line, you are part of the queue. You are following the other vehicles. So while you are moving, you are in queue, but you are not stopped. Okay. So stop delay can be, or time in queue delay can be higher than stop delay. Okay. And then why don't we call it the approach delay? Because you may have decelerated before joining the queue. So that is not part of time in queue delay. So approach delay is normally higher than time in queue delay. And again, once you leave the queue, once you cross the stop line, then you are accelerating. So acceleration is part of approach delay, but it is not part of time in queue delay. Okay. Then we have travel time delay. Travel time delay is the difference between the actual travel time and the desired travel time of the driver. Okay. In crossing the intersection or any road segment. Okay. So travel time delay can be applied to any road segment or any intersection. There's a difference between actual travel time and desired travel time. Actual travel time can be found very easily. Note down the time of the driver, that's it. Have a stopwatch, note down the time of the driver, or drive yourself, have the stopwatch in your car and note down how much time you are taking. So actual travel time, finding out actual travel time is not a problem. How do I find out the desired travel time? If somebody asks you, how much is your desired travel time to cross this segment or to cross this intersection? Or as a traffic engineer, somebody asks you, what will be the desired travel time of a driver to cross this intersection? How do you find it? Tell me. Anyone? How do you find out the desired travel time in crossing a road segment? Desired means what you want, right? What you want. How do I find it?
I think the difference between the time I stop and the time I reach the place I want.
You desire to stop. I'm talking about your desired travel time. Nobody wants to stop, right? The travel time which you want. Nobody wants to stop, right? So stopping cannot be part of it.
No,
Okay.
the point I was in and the point I will reach.
You are talking about the distance. You're talking about the distance. I'm talking about the time. How do you get find the time then? Okay, you know the 2 points. You want to go from point A to point B. How do I find out the desired travel time between these 2 points? Okay, let me help you. If, for that, I must repeat what I said when we were discussing spot speed topic. So we said that spot speed or the free flow speed, basically. Free flow speed is the choice of the driver in terms of speed, the choice. So that is the desired speed. So if you want to find out the desired travel time, it will be distance upon speed. Which speed? The free flow speed. Because free flow speed is the choice of speed for the driver for that road. Okay, so it is totally dependent upon the choice of the driver. So free flow speed, that the travel time which is calculated using the free flow speed is the desired travel time. If you know the free flow speed, you can find out the desired travel time. Okay, and actual travel time is measured in the feet. Okay, in this figure you can see 3 types of delays: stop time delay, approach delay, and travel time delay. Time in queue delay cannot be plotted because the queue keeps on moving. Okay, queue keeps on moving, so it cannot be plotted that easily. Now in the graph you see y-axis is distance, x-axis is time, and you see 2 lines here. One of them is called as the desired path, the one on the left hand side. This one is called as the desired path, and this one is called as the actual path. The desired path, as I said, comes from the free flow speed. So you plot a line according to free flow speed. So speed is the slope of the graph, right? Distance upon time. So plot a line which has a slope equal to free flow speed, you will get the desired path. Okay, easy. For the actual path, you use the actual speed, right? The actual speed and the actual travel time and the actual distance covered. So this is the actual speed of the car. Okay, and you can see at this time the slope and obviously the actual speed is less than the free flow value. Okay, so at this point you see the actual speed is further decreasing. Okay, the graph is further, the slope is further reducing. Okay, so the speed is reducing. This is deceleration. This is deceleration, and then the line goes horizontal. So when the line goes horizontal, it means what? What happened to the car? Horizontal line means what? What happened to the car? What is happening during this time? Time is passing, no distance. What does it mean?
No acceleration.
It means stopping. It is written here, D1, stopping. Okay, so D1 means stop delay. Okay, so this is a part of stop delay. Then after stopping, you see the graph is increasing again. Okay, the slope is increasing again. So this is acceleration. Okay, so if you take the difference between the desired path and the actual path at any point, here, at any point, if you take the difference between these two lines, it will give you the travel time delay. Okay, if you just take the length of the horizontal portion of the graph, it will give you stop delay. If you take the difference before deceleration and after acceleration, the time difference before deceleration and after acceleration, it will give you approach delay. Okay, now delay can be aggregate or it can be average. You can have aggregate delay or average delay. Aggregate means total delay for all vehicles. Aggregate is a total delay for all drivers. Okay, so it's like a summation. Okay, summation for all drivers. And it is represented in terms of vehicle minutes, vehicle seconds, or vehicle hours. Okay, so vehicles and times, vehicle and time. And average delay is delay per vehicle. Delay per vehicle, and it is represented as seconds per vehicle. So if you have the aggregate delay divided by the number of vehicles, you will get average delay. Okay, aggregate delay divided by the number of vehicles will give you average delay. Okay, in this course, we will just calculate the delay for uniform flow conditions. Uniform flow means when the flow is below capacity. When the flow is below capacity, that is uniform delay. When the flow goes above capacity, the delay calculations are more complicated, and we will not cover it in this course. So to explain the concept of uniform delay, we have this graph. On the x-axis, you see cumulative number of vehicles, cumulative, and on the y-axis you have cumulative number of vehicles. On the x-axis you have time. Okay, so you can see again in this graph we have two lines. One is a straight line, which is you can see slope is of this line is given as v. Okay, so it has a constant slope from start to end. Okay. Now if I take the slope of a line in this graph, it will be vehicles upon time, right? Vehicles upon time. So vehicle upon time means what? What do we call it? Let me give you options: volume or density. What is vehicle upon time? Volume or density? Anyone? All of you are sleeping at 12 a.m., 12 p.m. Sorry. Volume or density? Vehicle upon time, vehicle per unit time, volume or density? Hurry up. You cannot decide between two options. Anyways, so the slope, now I will not tell you what do we call it. Slope of this line is called as b. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, and then so you see the vehicles keep on coming towards the intersection. Okay, with the same slope. So this arrival line is going straight. Okay, but the other line is for departure, vehicles departing. Okay, so the departure line cannot be straight because vehicles cannot keep on departing, okay, cannot keep on leaving from the intersection because they have the red phase as well, the red phase. So during the red phase, vehicles obviously will not depart. Okay, so you can see the departure line is straight line, horizontal line. Okay, and then when the signal becomes green again, they start to move. Okay, and after some time, they become equal again. They become equal again. Now, if you take the difference between these two lines, the vertical difference, the vertical difference between these two lines. So it will give you the difference between vehicles arrived and vehicles departed. How many vehicles arrived? This much. How many vehicles departed? This much. So the difference will be number of vehicles in the queue. Number of vehicles in the queue. Okay. So queue means, you know, the letter Q as well as the queue, the line of vehicles. So how many vehicles are in the line? That is the vertical difference between these two lines. So if there is no difference, like for example at this point, there is no difference between the two lines, right? So that means there is no queue. When the lines meet, arrival and departure line meet, there is no queue. Okay. Then you have the horizontal difference between the two lines. It will give you the waiting time of the vehicle or the time in queue delay of the vehicle. The waiting time or the time in queue delay of the vehicle. Okay. So a vehicle arrived at this point and it left the intersection at this point. So from this point to this point, where was the vehicle? In the queue. Okay. So again, when the two lines meet, there is no time in queue delay as well, right? Vehicles just come and go. There is no queue. Okay. So the slope of the line for departure after the signal becomes green is S. Okay. Now, if you had told me what the slope of this line will be, volume or density, then I can tell you what is S. But anyways, you prefer to be silent. No problem. I can ask this question in the exam.
It's volume, density.
Okay, so the slope of the line for vehicles leaving the intersection is S. Okay, and the time taken for the two lines to meet is known as clearance time. Okay, this is the time when the queue is cleared. When the queue is cleared. Okay, so from the start of the green till the time when the two lines meet. Okay, that is the clearance time. Now Webster is a known traffic scientist, traffic engineer, whatever you want to call it. So he has given many equations related to intersections, calculating for equation for cycle length, for side distance, and many others. He has also given equation to calculate uniform delay at the intersection, and he gave this equation in 1958. Uniform delay, as I said, means the delay is the flow is below capacity. So according to Webster, uniform delay at an intersection is calculated as half R into V. Okay, so UD, and you can see in the subscript, it is written small a. A means aggregate. So this equation will give you aggregate delay, summation of delay for all vehicles, UDA, equals half R into V. So R is the length of the red phase and V is the volume of vehicles in the queue, number of vehicles in the queue. Okay, so to calculate the red phase, we have an equation. So in this equation, we have C and 1 minus G upon C. C means, capital C means the cycle length, total time taken by the signal, and you can see G by C ratio here. So small g is the effective green time. Effective green time. So that is the time during which the vehicles are moving at saturation headway. So take the total effective green time divided by cycle length. Okay. So this is the percentage of cycle length which is effective green. 1 minus that will give you the remaining percentage, and you multiply the remaining percentage with the cycle length itself. So red time is the percentage of cycle length which is not effective green. This is what this equation implies. Okay, the percentage of cycle length which is not effective green, 1 minus G by C, the remaining cycle length which is not effective. Okay, now when these 2 points meet at this point, now when these 2 lines meet, arrival and departure line meet, number of vehicles arrived equals to number of vehicles departed, right? One line is for arrival, the other line is for departure. So number of vehicles arrived equals to number of vehicles departed. So how many vehicles arrived or how many vehicles are in the queue? Obviously, when the queue is gone, then number of vehicles arrived because number of vehicles departed, right? So how many vehicles were in the queue? So if you use this line to calculate the number of vehicles arrived, then it will be V, the slope, multiplied by this time, which is R, multiplied by this time, which is TC, the clearance interval, the clearance time. So V into R into TC will give you number of vehicles arrived. Okay, using this line. Okay, and using this line, it will be S, the slope of this line, multiplied by TC, because vehicles are only moving during time TC, right? They were arriving during time R and TC, but they are only moving during time TC. Okay, so some of the vehicles may have arrived during TC, but they did not. They had to join the queue. They had to join the queue because although the signal was green, but the queue was already in front of them, so they had to join the queue. Okay, so some of the vehicles which arrived during green time also had to join the queue because the vehicles were already in front of them. They were already part of the queue. Okay, so number of vehicles arrived means V into R plus TC, and number of vehicles departed means S into TC. Okay, and they both should be equal at this point. So this is what we are doing here. Arrived equals to departed. Okay, and from this equation we'll calculate the value of TC. So you can see this is the equation for TC. So we need R, the slope of the departure, and the slope of the arrival. Again, if you tell me what is the slope of this line, then I can tell you what do we mean by S. Okay, you will need it. Okay, number of vehicles in the queue equals to number of vehicles arrived, right, during time R and TC. Okay, now in this equation, I already know the equation for TC, so I will replace TC with this equation. Okay, so this is the equation for TC. TC replaced with the equation. Then I will take R outside the bracket and I will multiply V with the bracket itself. Okay, so this is the final equation for number of vehicles in the queue. Now in this equation, I already have an equation for R as well. So I'll put the equation of R in the equation, and this is the final equation for number of vehicles in the queue. Okay, this one. Then according to Webster, the total uniform delay, aggregate delay for the intersection is given as half R into V. So half R into V. I have an equation for R, and now I have an equation for V as well. So half R into V will give you this. So this is the equation for calculating aggregate uniform delay at an intersection according to Webster. Aggregate uniform delay according to Webster. Okay, and if you want to calculate average delay, then divide this equation with the volume of vehicles or vehicles in the queue. So if you divide this equation with the number of vehicles in the queue, this is the equation for average delay. So the first one is the equation for aggregate delay, and the second one is the equation for average delay. Okay, now we are trying to use, if we, for example, you have designed a signal, so you have a cycle length. Now you want to know how much will be the delay for if I design according to this cycle length. Okay, so in calculating the cycle length, we use the parameter which is known as V by C ratio, volume to capacity ratio. In this equation, you don't see the V by C ratio. So if I can include the V by C ratio in the uniform delay equation, it will help me in understanding the effect of V by C on cycle length as well as delay both. Okay, otherwise I have to use one equation and then see the effect on the other equation, so it will increase my work. So if I can have V by C ratio directly in this equation, I can see the effect of V by C ratio on cycle length as well as delay at the same time. So just to refresh your mind, V by C ratio means volume upon capacity ratio, right? Volume upon capacity ratio cannot be 1. 1 means volume is equal to capacity. So the volume which you have estimated for cycle length is the exact volume which you will get in the field. So that means what? You don't have any margin of error. You don't have any margin of safety. Okay. So if your estimation has some error, maybe even 0.5% error, the volume is equal to capacity. Okay. So when you have a problem in the estimation, an error in the estimation, the actual volume will be more than the capacity, and you will have traffic jam and the delay and the queue at the intersection. Okay, so volume capacity ratio should be less than 1. Now, how to incorporate V by C ratio in this equation? You can already see V in the equation, V. And so now we have to somehow put capacity in the equation. Okay. One example which we did before the break, we calculated capacity as this. Capacity which is small c and equals to S into G by C ratio. G is effective gain and C is the cycle length. Okay, so keep the difference in mind. C, small c means capacity, capital C means cycle length. Small c capacity, capital C cycle length. Okay, you did not tell me what is S. Okay, I was asking. S is the slope in the graph, right? Okay, S is the slope in the graph. So what is slope? I'm asking you again.
Volume.
Is it the volume or is it the density?
Volume.
If you answer me, then I can tell you how did we get this equation.
It's
You don't answer
volume.
me. Sorry?
Volume.
Volume. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, and all of you should thank her. So that is basically the volume or the flow rate. Okay, so V is the arrival flow rate and S is the departure flow rate. And S was also the saturation flow rate. Saturation flow rate. So the flow rate at which vehicles depart from the intersection is equal to the saturation flow rate. Okay, and how did we define saturation flow rate? It is the flow rate under continuous sustainable flow conditions. The maximum flow rate under continuous sustainable flow conditions. So at this flow rate, the headway, we already have seen in the previous lectures, how can we calculate the saturation flow rate using the saturation headway. Okay, so in the example, one of the examples which we did before the break, we calculate capacity as saturation flow rate into G by C ratio, effective gain upon cycle length. Okay, so if capacity equals saturation flow rate into G by C, then saturation flow rate equals capacity upon G by C. Okay, it's just a rearrangement of this equation. So capacity upon G by C will give you saturation flow rate. So in this equation, I already have S, so S will be replaced by small c upon G by C ratio. Okay, so the equation will be this one. Okay, there's the equation. So V upon C, okay, which is from here, and then it was upon G upon C, so G upon C came here. It was capacity upon G by C, right? So G by C came here. Okay, so V by C, now we have the V by C ratio here. V by C is denoted here in this equation as X. If you go to the equation which we use for the delay calculation of roundabout, there also V by C was represented as X. So X means V by C ratio, volume capacity ratio in the delay equation. Okay. So now you have the final equation for calculating average delay per vehicle. Average delay per vehicle. Let us look at an example. We have intersection approach. The approach flow. Approach means arrival flow. Okay. Arrival flow is given 1000 vehicles per hour. Saturation flow rate is given 2800 vehicles per hour. S value. Cycle length is given. G by C ratio is given. And we want delay per vehicle. Delay per vehicle. So we are going to use this equation. Delay per vehicle. Now in this equation, I need capital C, cycle length given 90 seconds. I need G by C ratio given 0.55. Okay, now I need X. X is V upon C, volume upon capacity. Keep in mind, V upon C, C means capacity, not cycle length. So from the V by C ratio, they have given me volume. So V is known. I need capacity, C. Okay, so let us see how we can calculate the capacity. For calculating capacity, I will come back to this equation. Okay, so capacity equals to this, right? Capacity equals to this. Okay, so capacity equals to S, which is given as 2800, into G by C ratio, which is given as 0.55. How much is it?
$15.40.
1540 vehicles per hour. Okay, then now I can calculate V by C ratio. So V by C ratio is 1000 divided by 2800. How much?
0.35.
Okay, so now I have all the things I want.
3.5, Doctor.
3.5.
Yes.
Sorry. B by C, right? So 1540. Sorry. How much is it? B by C, right? I was doing
6.5.
6. Okay, now you can use this equation to calculate the uniform delay. So cycle length 90 seconds, G by C ratio 0.55 and X 0.65. How much is it? Yes, how much?
$14.2.
14.2 per vehicle, okay, because it is average delay. Okay, seconds per vehicle. So this is how you calculate the uniform average delay using the Webster's equation. Okay. So anybody has any questions, they can ask me.